Welcome back to my channel. Today we will learn about the issue shaking Los Angeles to its core. The streets of Los Angeles may sparkle under the golden California sun, but behind the elegant glass walls of Forrester Creations and the high-end homes of its most elite citizens, darkness often brews. And no story illustrates this more vividly than the latest shocking spiral of Luna, once a misunderstood newcomer, now the epicenter of a tragedy that has left one woman dead, another fighting for her life, and an entire community scrambling to make sense of a horrifying act no one saw coming, except perhaps the one woman who knows Luna better than she knows herself, Sheila Carter. The tension between Poppy and Luna had been building for weeks. Once a tightly knit mother-daughter duo, their relationship had deteriorated into cold stares, harsh words, and unspoken accusations. It all began when Luna, swept up in a storm of resentment and emotional unraveling, accused Poppy of being a negligent mother, more concerned about image than love. Poppy, in turn, fired back with a public rebuke that left Luna humiliated. She called Luna ungrateful, immature, and reckless. A young woman spiraling out of control who refused to take responsibility for her own actions. That very confrontation may have been the catalyst that triggered Luna's fatal decision. In the days that followed, Luna became increasingly withdrawn, obsessing over every word Poppy had said. In Luna's twisted perception, Poppy wasn't her savior, she was her jailer, the woman who kept her caged in shame, judgment, and manipulation. And when Luna quietly purchased an untraceable firearm from a street vendor in a back alley of East Los Angeles, she wasn't merely buying a weapon. She was buying control. A chance to reclaim her power. A chance to erase what she perceived as the source of all her emotional torment. Unbeknownst to Luna, Steffy Forrester had been keeping a close eye on her. Steffy, already distrustful of Luna due to past incidents, noticed the increasingly erratic behavior and decided to follow her one evening after Luna left the Forrester offices in a rush. Steffy had no idea that her decision would place her at the heart of a chilling scene she would never forget. Luna lured Poppy to an abandoned home on the outskirts of town under the pretense of reconciliation. The location, secluded and surrounded by overgrown brush and crumbling walls, was carefully chosen. Isolated. Desperate. Perfect for a confrontation that would never be witnessed by an outsider, at least that was Luna's intention. As Poppy walked through the decaying doorway, calling out for Luna, she found herself face to face with her daughter, but instead of an apology, she saw the cold barrel of a gun. Words were exchanged, pleas, accusations, maybe even some final attempt at understanding, but they fell on deaf ears. Luna, trembling but resolute, raised the weapon. The echo of the shot rang out into the night, followed by silence. Poppy collapsed, blood spreading across the dusty floor, her final breath lost in the stillness. Steffy, frozen in horror just outside the broken window, had seen everything. She turned to run, fumbled over debris, and caught Luna's attention. Panic surged through Luna as she realized there was a witness. Everything she had done could be undone in a moment if Steffy made it to safety. The pursuit was frantic. Adrenaline surged. Steffy ran, her breath ragged, feet pounding into cracked floorboards. Luna chased her, wild-eyed, calling her name not out of concern, but fury. When she finally caught up to her, Luna fired. The bullet struck Steffy in the back, dropping her instantly. Luna stood over the bodies of two women she once claimed to care about, one her mother, the other the wife of the man she believed should have been her father. In her mind, the nightmare was over. The threats were eliminated. But in reality, it had just begun. What Luna failed to realize was that the sound of the gunfire had carried. Nearby residents, already wary of the dilapidated property, called the police. Emergency responders arrived minutes later and were met with a harrowing sight: two women lying in pools of blood, one lifeless, the other barely clinging to life. Steffy, miraculously, still had a pulse. At the hospital, chaos ensued. Doctors rushed to stabilize Steffy, who was immediately placed in intensive care. The bullet had narrowly missed her spine, but her condition was critical. Rich, Finn, Thomas, and the rest of the Forrester family gathered, their faces pale, their voices hushed. The question on everyone's lips: who did this? And then came the whispers, because there was one person who had her suspicions before anyone else. Sheila. Sheila Carter had been watching Luna from a distance for weeks. As Luna's estranged grandmother, Sheila had hoped for a bond, but something darker stirred within her. She had seen the same look in Luna's eyes that she once saw in her own reflection, a dangerous blend of desperation, delusion, and desire for control. When she heard about the shooting, she didn't need to ask questions. She already knew. Luna had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. While law enforcement began its investigation, Sheila quietly launched one of her own. She returned to the abandoned house under the cover of night and found small clues: Luna's scarf caught on a jagged nail, a fresh footprint in the dirt, a hair clip smeared with blood. She took them all. Not to protect Luna, but to prepare for what was coming. Because if Luna didn't turn herself in, Sheila would have to decide whether to expose her, or take the fall herself. Meanwhile, Luna vanished. She knew the authorities would be hunting her. In the hours after the attack, she disposed of the gun, burned her blood-stained clothes, and disappeared into the underground network of Los Angeles's fringe society. Whispers in the wind said she might try to flee the country, but her face was already plastered across the news. Armed and dangerous, Luna Nozawa sought in double shooting. Her world had collapsed, and the only thing left was the chase. Back at the hospital, Steffy's condition fluctuated. Ridge remained by her bedside, holding her hand. Finn, torn between fury and guilt, tried to reconcile the fact that his own daughter had done this. He had advocated for giving Luna a second chance, believing she was just a troubled young woman in need of guidance. Now, he struggled with the unbearable weight that his compassion may have endangered the woman he loved. Sheila, for her part, stood in the shadows of the hospital corridors, watching, waiting. She knew the time would come when the truth would have to be revealed. Whether she would protect Luna or expose her remained uncertain. But one thing was clear: this was far from over. The bold and the beautiful had always thrived on secrets, betrayals, and explosive truths, but this tragedy struck deeper than anyone could have imagined. A daughter's rage, a mother's final breath, and a legacy of bloodshed now threatened to tear apart everything the Forresters have built. With Luna on the run and Steffy barely clinging to life, Los Angeles braces for the fallout. The question now isn't just who will survive, it's who will face justice, and who will be forever scarred by the truth. Next, we're diving deep into the whirlwind of drama that unfolded on The Bold and the Beautiful during the week of June 2nd to 6th. This week served up a buffet of shocking revelations, twisted alliances, and dangerous intentions as Luna and Sheila dominated the storyline with a dynamic that could only be described as explosively chaotic. We're peeling back the layers of every jaw-dropping moment, from unexpected moral dilemmas to sinister plots brewing in the shadows of Los Angeles's most glamorous families. Buckle up, because this recap is packed with fresh insights, intricate details, and a few surprises of our own as we explore the dark underbelly of love, rivalry, and betrayal on B&B. Let's start with the undeniable centerpiece of this week's episodes, the chilling tension between Luna and the infamous Sheila Carter, a pairing that has quickly become a powder keg waiting to ignite. On Monday, viewers were treated to a rare sight. Sheila, the perennial villainess often dubbed the she-devil of Forrester Creations, seemed to hesitate when faced with a diabolical proposition from her own flesh and blood. Luna, with a glint of desperation in her eye, floated the idea of permanently removing Steffy Forrester from the equation in a way that sent shivers down even Sheila's hardened spine. Now, let's be clear, Sheila has never been Steffy's biggest fan, harboring a resentment that burns hotter than a California wildfire. Yet, in a moment that could almost be mistaken for growth, Sheila recoiled at the thought of outright murder. Has the Queen of Schemes finally learned that bloodshed isn't always the answer to her problems? Or is this merely a temporary detour before she reverts to her wicked ways? The complexity of Sheila's internal struggle was palpable. She wrestled visibly with her dark instincts while grappling with a strange urge to protect, or at least not destroy, her granddaughter's future. It's a fascinating pivot for a character who has long been defined by chaos, and it left us wondering just how long this newfound restraint might last. As the week progressed, the spotlight shifted to Luna, whose downward spiral took a terrifying turn. By Wednesday, her pleas of transformation, "I've changed, I swear," rang hollow as she stormed off in a fit of rage, her mind already made up. In a chilling sequence, Luna was seen scouring the underbelly of LA. For a weapon, her intent as clear as the cold steel she intended to wield. No longer content to wallow in heartbreak or scheme from the sidelines, Luna has crossed a line into dangerous territory, setting her sights on eliminating Steffy once and for all. This isn't just a petty feud or a moment of emotional weakness, it's a calculated descent into darkness that could shatter lives. The weight of her actions hangs heavy. Steffy, unaware of the storm brewing, is now a walking target, while Finn, caught in the crossfire of family loyalties, risks losing everything he holds dear. Adding another layer to this mess is the ripple effect on Dollar Bill Spencer, who pulled strings to get Luna out of prison in the first place. If Luna's sinister plan comes to fruition, Bill might find himself regretting that decision more than any business deal gone south. The stakes have never been higher, and Luna's transformation into a vengeful force is both tragic and terrifying to witness. Sheila, meanwhile, continued to surprise us as the week drew to a close, revealing a side of her that's as unexpected as it is compelling. By Friday, she was in full-on damage control mode, frantically reaching out to Finn and Steffy to warn them of the looming threat. Her urgency wasn't just a performance, it was a raw, almost maternal instinct kicking in. A stark contrast to the Sheila we've known for decades. Not stopping there, she also dialed up Poppy Nozawa, determined to sound the alarm about Luna's unraveling mental state. At first, Poppy dismissed Sheila's concerns with the same skepticism most reserved for the notorious schemer, her tone dripping with distrust. But Sheila, undeterred, pressed on with a fervor that broke through Poppy's defenses. She painted a grim picture. Luna, fresh out of jail and already teetering on the edge, had tried to enlist Sheila in a deadly tag team plot against Steffy. The revelation hit Poppy like a freight train. Her daughter, barely free from the consequences of past misdeeds, was now plotting another unthinkable act. The horror on Poppy's face mirrored our own as the gravity of Luna's obsession became undeniable. How could a young woman, given a second chance, veer so sharply into the abyss? And what does this mean for the fragile bonds between the Spencers, Logans, and Forresters, already strained by years of conflict? Beyond the central drama, this week also offered subtle undercurrents that hint at even bigger explosions on the horizon. The ripple effects of Luna's actions are already seeping into the broader canvas of B&B's intricate world. Finn, ever the conflicted hero, is walking a tightrope between his loyalty to Steffy and his tangled history with Sheila, unaware that his cousin Luna could be the catalyst for unimaginable tragedy. Meanwhile, whispers in the Forrester mansion suggest that Ridge and Brooke are beginning to sense that something is terribly wrong, though they can't yet put their finger on the source of the unease. Even minor players, like Hope, are starting to notice the charged atmosphere, with lingering glances and hushed conversations hinting at their growing suspicion. We've also added a speculative twist of our own. What if Luna's plot isn't just about Steffy, but part of a larger vendetta against the entire Forrester legacy? Could her rage be fueled by long-buried secrets about her lineage, perhaps tied to Sheila's own murky past? It's a theory worth pondering as we watch this saga unfold. In wrapping up this week's recap, one thing is crystal clear: The Bold and the Beautiful has once again proven why it remains a titan of daytime drama. The interplay between Luna's unhinged determination and Sheila's surprising restraint has created a narrative tension that's impossible to look away from. We're left with burning questions. Will Sheila truly stay on this path of redemption, or is her inner she-devil just biding its time? Can Luna be stopped before her obsession with Steffy leads to irreversible consequences? And how will the families of Los Angeles weather this latest storm when trust is already in such short supply? Next, we're delving into the fascinating journey of Jacqueline McInnes Wood, the talented actress who has breathed life into the fiery character of Steffy Forrester on The Bold and the Beautiful. From her dramatic entrance into the soap world to her profound impact on one of its most iconic families, Jacqueline's evolution is a story of resilience, growth, and the pursuit of balance. Let's explore the layers of this actress's journey, from the whirlwind of her early career to her current status as a leader on and off the screen. When Jacqueline McInnes Wood stepped onto the set of The Bold and the Beautiful in the spring of 2008, she was as green as the spring grass in her native Canada. Fresh-faced and eager, she landed the role of Steffy Forrester with her very first audition, a testament to her natural talent and camera magnetism. From the start, I loved working on Bold and Beautiful, she reminisces, speaking to Soaps.com about those initial heart-pounding days. Although I'd never worked at a pace like that in my life. Her first week was a mix of excitement and frenzy. Scripts were memorized in advance, providing Jacqueline with a buffer to learn her lines before the relentless pace of soap opera taping began. We hadn't actually started taping, so I had time to really sit with the scripts. And then I remember that at the end of that week, they gave me, 8 scripts for the following week, and it was pretty much nonstop for the first 3 years. Imagine stepping from tranquil Canada into the fast lane of Hollywood, a transition as dramatic as any storyline Steffy has ever found herself in. Wood's debut on June 4, 2008, was only the beginning of an exhilarating ride. The character of Steffy was thrust into the limelight with numerous high-octane storylines that could have melted even the toughest of actors. Following my debut, she and Steffy were given so many hot storylines that it was a wonder that they didn't get third-degree burns, Wood reflects with a playful chuckle. However, beneath the glamour and the adrenaline, the young actress was grappling with the real-world challenges of her ascent. I was in my 20s, so I was trying to balance a lot of different things. They say that at that age, you're not even thinking, you're just very impulsive. And that was me, she admits. The demands of the role left her running on empty, resorting to energy drinks to keep up with the relentless schedule. I was drinking 5-hour energy drinks to get me through the day and running on fumes. The toll was evident, not just in her energy levels but in her appearance. I was so thin, and my skin was breaking out. A doctor's visit led to a quick fix, a pill to mask the symptoms, but Jacqueline knew this wasn't the solution. She realized. That's when I went to a skin doctor, and to be honest, he gave me a pill and said, "Take this." And I realized it wasn't getting to the root of the problem, more like putting a bandage over it. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of a conscious shift for Jacqueline. That's when I realized that I needed to focus on myself and my health and getting myself back on track. And that was before kids. Now, I have the added incentive of wanting to be healthy for not only myself and my husband but for them, too. Through this period of introspection and self-care, Jacqueline transformed both as an individual and as an actor. Her portrayal of Steffi went from the cookie-cutter supervixen to a complex figure whose mind was as sharp as her heart was deep. Yet, her love life has always been the Achilles heel for Steffi, particularly the notorious triangle with Liam and Hope. Sometimes I have wanted to strangle Steffi, Jacqueline confesses with a knowing smile, especially when she was in the triangle with Liam and Hope. She and Liam were so codependent, and it was definitely not healthy. Through all these turbulent relationships, Steffi's evolution from a rebellious teen to a formidable woman has been a testament to Jacqueline's acting prowess. The character, rife with foibles and ferocity, has become an integral part of Jacqueline's life. Steffi is such a huge part of my life, she concludes, I don't know what I'd do without her. As we wrap up our exploration of Jacqueline MacInnes Wood's journey, we're reminded of the deep connection between actor and character. It's a story of balancing personal health, career demands, and the responsibilities of motherhood, all while delivering captivating performances. Jacqueline's story doesn't just entertain, it inspires, showing that even amid the chaos of a bustling career, one can find strength, equilibrium, and a renewed commitment to oneself. Stay tuned to the B&B Spoilers channel for more exclusive insights into the lives of your favorite soap stars.